In the last talk, I mainly emphasized our personality getting hurt. Somebody saying something and it hurting us. I was emphasizing that because that is most of our suffering now. Psychological suffering. Some identities have been made and somebody says something or does something, it hurts that identity and we suffer. So I was mainly focusing on that. And I was saying psychological hurt does not make sense because who made it into an entity, rigid entity? There is no rigid entity. It is we made it like that. And then we are saying it hurts. It is all in our hands. That hurt is itself our making. So now I'm extending that into another example and asking this question. Suppose somebody is suffering physically. Okay, somebody around you is physically suffering. Maybe their physical needs are not met, or they are physically hurt, or they are diseased, or they are dying, something like this. So when you come across such situations where human beings are suffering, does that not hurt you? Does that not kind of, hurt may not be the exact word, but won't it give you some kind of pain? Can we apply what we talked about psychological hurt to this also? That you see some human being suffering, and because of that suffering, it hurts you also. Should this also be questioned? Because if you negate that, does it not look like insensitivity? I am now bringing arguments from both sides. Well, on the one hand, I have questioned psychological hurt, that it has to be challenged. Now I am bringing a particular example. So when you see humans suffering like this, don't you feel pained?
Yes, we do.
We feel pain. Now I am asking, should we question that also like last time? That this pain also should be challenged? Or should we allow this to be?
We can't, for me, I can't question it. I just allow it. Maybe it must be questioned, but I can't do it I can't question it.
Presently, it is working out, meaning we are able to feel the pain and let it be because it is happening selectively. It is not happening all the time for everything. If you take it to its limit, you have to be in pain every moment. Because living beings are dying all the time, not just human beings. Living entities are dying and suffering. So many things are happening all the time. If we really start responding to all of it, we will be in constant pain. It is only because we have drawn a line to be below limit, it is going fine. So even this will have to be questioned. But then what will happen after you question it? If you question it and if this also is gone, won't you become inhuman? I will give you a classic example, which we are all aware of. You know the story of Buddha before he became Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. His main trigger, the thing that mainly triggered him to seek truth, was that he saw there is suffering everywhere. He saw diseased people, he saw people, old people, he saw dead people, he saw all kinds of things. He saw somebody else's physical suffering and he suffered because of that. And because of that, he need not have to go through personally some suffering. That was enough for him to see that something is off. something is wrong with this. This can't be truth. And he inquired into himself. See, here, this is what the thing is. If he did not suffer someone else's suffering, would he have tried to inquire into anything? Okay, somebody is suffering, fine, he's suffering. Not, I'm not suffering. Is there anything to inquire now? Somebody is suffering, looking at that, I am suffering. Only then my questions are coming. Finally, you are suffering. Your questions are not coming because they are suffering. Your question is coming because you are suffering, looking at their suffering. Finally, it comes to you. Yes. And you question it means it looks abnormal to you. It feels it shouldn't be there. It should be gotten rid of. And then he inquired into it and whatever sadhana he did. And finally, he became a Buddha. After he became a Buddha, still people were, the world was still suffering around him, but he was out of suffering. So finally, whose suffering stopped? See, world was suffering. He looked at it. He suffered because of it. And he thought this can't be it. Something more has to be there. And he inquired into it. And finally, what happened? Did the world come out of suffering? No, only he came out of it. And because he came out of it, it doesn't mean that now he is inhuman to everything. People were still coming to him with their suffering. And he was responding to them. Only the difference is when he was Siddhartha Gautama, if people came to him with their suffering, he was also suffering with them. Now he's an added problem. But when he is a Buddha, when people came to him with their suffering, now he is no more suffering. But he is giving them solutions. He is guiding them. He was no more suffering. He was stable. He was calm and peaceful. And he was talking. Even when a mother whose child was dead came to him crying and he was acting crazy, he was still peacefully sitting and talking to her. He didn't sit and cry with her. Instead, he brought her back to stability by doing something. Many of you may know the story. Whereas if he himself suffered, he would have become another added problem. I'm also suffering now. So, strictly speaking, finally, yes, this also will be questioned.